Okay? Yeah. We want to get started right now to keep everything on track. So it's 8:15, as I mentioned earlier. The next session will still begin at 9 o'clock in this same room. All the precast sessions will be held here today. I'm here to introduce this morning Mr. Brian Stock from National Field Sales Manager for EasySet Industries. We license the JJ Hook barrier from EasySet Industries, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that. He's going to talk to you about the safety regulations and standards that go into the safety barriers that we supply. A barrier may seem like a pretty simple thing, but that's likely until your life depends on it. We sell the NCHRP 350 Test Level 3 barrier as specified by all three departments of transportation in the Maritimes. We have over 1,500 barriers installed on provincial highways throughout Atlantic Canada, and EasySet Barrier has been a great product for us. So we were going to talk, as I said, some of the standards and specifications that go into that. Mr. Stock is we're fortunate he's here because he's also an active member of Task Force 13, and that's the group who researches solutions to highway accidents with roadside applications such as road signs, highway barriers, bridge barriers, and they also look at new roadway safety devices. They're a group which formulates policy and tests for these devices, which are voted on for approval by AASHTO and the state and federal government in the USA. So that's one product that Brian's going to speak about today. The other couple products is beach prisms. We get quite a few calls more lately, is in regards to erosion control and shoreline protection. He's going to touch base on the beach prism line that we are currently sourcing. Precast buildings, we currently manufacture precast buildings. Come on in, guys. We currently manufacture precast buildings, and Brian's got some technologies in regards to post-tensioning and waterproofing that we're going to explore. And finally, Soundwall. Soundwall is a product that is quite readily used in the United States. We don't see a lot of it here, but we think as property becomes more scarce and we build closer to highways and roads, Soundwall is probably going to be a product that developers may look at in the future, so we're going to discuss that as well. Brian, as I mentioned, is the National Field Sales Manager for EasySet, and it specializes in licensing these proprietary systems. He's been in the concrete and construction industry for over 40 years. He covers the world in concrete technology and product development. So, Brian, I'd ask you to please come on up and tell us what you're all about, or your company. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron. I put this graphic picture up on the screen for you to give you a reason why in the United States, Task Force 13, which basically I'm a member of. Thank you. Okay. Tries to design highway appliances that will save your life. And the whole object of the crash testing under the NCHRP 350 standard and now the new MASH 08 standard, which is changing the crash vehicle to a crew cab pickup rather than a regular pickup, is to try to prevent what you see here. By the way, this accident happened because the person was texting, okay? It's a major problem, texting on the phone. And the new phones are supposed to be able to tell if you're going more than 5 miles an hour, and it won't allow you to text, okay? So that's we feel is going to be a good improvement. Let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. Okay. I can show you. Maybe I can show you. Let's see here. Can you help me?
Sure. I'll run the slides.
What I'm trying to do is get to the other part of this thing.
Yeah. Which one?
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
What do you want to go to?
Let me show the long. This one right here. That'll do. Okay. You can see what a long ride that was. You probably thought that was the end of the guardrail. It wasn't. Look at that. Okay. This happened in Denver, Colorado, by the way, if you're wondering what area it occurred. The firm I am with represents and builds everything I talked to you about in terms of precast concrete elements. We've been in business some 50 years outside of Washington, D.C. We have a plant there, and we also have a small plant down in North Carolina. And then, of course, we license these products, as Ryland said, to other manufacturers to make. The J.J. Hook highway barrier, I think you all have a brochure on that, has been around for quite a while. It's been crash tested to the 350. We're crash testing it to the new MASH 08 standard. Ryland mentioned that there's some talk about embossing names, etc., in a highway barrier. There's actually a study that's been done on this because some people wanted to make a architecturally pleasing barrier. But you've got to remember the whole object of the barrier is to redirect the vehicle safely and keep it within its parameter lane. Under the new MASH 08 standard, they actually have an exit box down from where the crash takes place, and if your vehicle goes out, you don't pass. And the reason for that is obviously you're now sending your vehicle into the lanes of the other cars coming forward. So the barriers business has been one that has constantly evolved with new crash tests and with new barrier designs. You probably know that there's several other profiles that are available in barrier, and you'll see that when you look around the country. There's a constant slope, and there's an F shape, and so on. Which
one do we? So you just go up here and press X. Which one do you want?
Okay. Now I'm going to go to the buildings now.
Okay.
Thank you. The barriers that are used in your provinces here are fully crash tested, and the NCHRP 350 test is available online if anybody wants to see what's involved to make it crash worthy. It's a pretty severe test. The barriers themselves, we feel, are a lot safer, especially because of the advent of motorcycle drivers. There's a tremendous increase, at least in the United States, of people driving motorcycles. And we feel that the guardrail system with steel and posts is a major threat to those on motorcycles, because when they fall off the motorcycle, it's usually they're sliding. The motorcycle and the occupant separate. And the fellow would normally be okay, or the girl, if he didn't run into vertical posts and steel beams. So the study that we've seen has shown that a precast concrete barrier is 4 times safer for a motorcycle than a beam and post system. And it's, common sense would tell you why. Where you're getting a turn, they're not using steel guardrail anymore. They're using a concrete system, precast concrete. The other factor I want to talk to you about, or the other product I should say, is our precast concrete building line. These precast concrete buildings had started out being just 6x8s, and you'll see small buildings like that under cell towers and so on. We manufacture and license these products all the way up to a 40-foot clear span by over 200 feet long. And they're designed on a floating slab design, so there's no foundation required, even up here in northern Canada. You've got a producer right outside of Buffalo called High Grade who makes our buildings and ships them as far north as you are here without any problems at all with frost heave or snow loads. Now, let me go on here, find out where I'm going here. I know what I need to do. I usually have my grandchildren help me with this, so excuse me. Anyway, this is our parent company, Smith Midland, and that's the original building that we used to make. kind of run through that. You'll see the name EasySet is well advertised in many of the trade journals, and perhaps some of you have seen the name and seen some of the product lines. And these are some of the magazines. Of course, in today's world, nobody's using magazines. Thomas Registry doesn't even make a print copy anymore. Everything's online, everything. We use positive door openers instead of a chain. We use post-tensioning in the floor and the roof. The concept there is that if you post-tension the concrete and you get a crack in it, the crack won't open up to more than 0.04 of an inch, therefore water will not pass. It also increases the punch shear of the concrete significantly. So if a tree limb or something else happens to fall on these buildings, and a lot of them are in very remote areas, or a large chunk of ice, let's say, the building is very strong. And there's an example. We use a raised threshold. The biggest thing people want in these small buildings, they want to make sure that water can't penetrate. Water is a big issue. And secondly, even vermin, bugs and so on. If you store cardboard in anything, and it draws bugs. So they want it watertight, so we use a raised threshold. Of course, it's done in a plant environment, so you've got controlled strength of concrete, you've got repetitiveness with the crews who are making these buildings, so they're quite precise, and they're done in a steel form. Various finishes: ribbed, fractured fin, you've got skip trowel finish. This happens to be just a brick grid that's put in it to make a brick finish. We have hazmat buildings for controlled substances, such as use of fertilizer or gasoline, things like that. We can put blowout panels in them that relieve the pressure should there be an explosion inside. We even have a test for the exterior building. We're getting calls from the oil companies and so forth in Texas where they want a safe haven within the structure itself. So we had to run a test to show that the buildings could take an outside blast pressure of a given type, and we've got that information. That grid you see in this picture is used to contain the fluids. It'll contain 20% of the storable fluids inside, which is the standard. They're loaded on trucks generally if they're up to about a 12 by 20. And they can be larger than that, provided the roadways can take it and permits are secured. Another large one. And you can see they're just setting it down on a granular subbase. There's no foundation there at all. This is a larger building. These are field assembled. There's the roof. That's a post-tensioned roof, basically a tri-beam. And it's two-way post-tensioned. You can barely see it in this picture, but there's little holes in the end of that roof section. So we lace post-tension cable and make a monolithic diaphragm of that entire roof. There you can see the hole where it goes through. And here's a guy feeding the cable through. These buildings go up extremely fast. And if you have electrical substations, as an example, or certain water plants, really like the idea because they're hazardous sites. I mean, you've got high voltage there. They don't like people walking around. They want you in and out. And when you go to build a building on these sites, generally speaking, it takes 5 to 6 weeks. The building you see in this picture took a day and a half to put together. Done. So that is an important factor for them. We can make them quite long. This happens to be a 30-foot clear span by 100 feet long. We can do different kinds of roofs and even a pitched roof out of concrete. There is a guard shack. The windows cost more than the building. This happens to be a chlorination building for a pool. We obviously use fiberglass doors and thresholds. Concrete obviously is impervious to the chlorine. And we do other things. I mean, it's like a deck of cards. All of us could make a different form. If I put 52 cards on a table, you can stack them any which way you want to. So here's an example, little place there. This happens to be on a military base for a dumpster enclosure. Here is a bus stop, a dugout, vending machines. You can see the rural nature of some of this stuff because people who use these, many times, they don't come to them for a whole year. I mean, they're just sitting out there and they want them taken care of. They're UL 752 bullet resistant as well, the concrete, not the doors or the windows. They can be, but if you want that, that's going to be a huge number, let me tell you. But the buildings for hunters and things like that who might accidentally shoot at the building, it will resist we're a level 4, which is a 30-06 rifle at 15 feet firing to the concrete, okay? And you can't have a piece of the concrete or any part of the projectile cut a piece of cardboard that's 18 inches behind the object you're shooting at. And that test is predicated on the fact that when you go to your bank and the teller is behind giving you money or whatever, that glass that's in front of her is UL 752 rated. So no one can shoot through it, easily anyway. Again, I mentioned electrical substations. I'll just kind of go through this because I don't want to take too much of your time. Larger buildings. We also do restrooms out in parks. This is our Outback series, and you can see it's a barn board type finish, and I guarantee a woodpecker would break his nose on that sucker because it's that good, okay? This is on Martha Stewart's golf course in Connecticut. They had to build the septic tank or the holding tank larger because those people wanted running water and they wanted regular flush toilets, and there was no septic out there. So the solution was just to make a huge septic tank, and that's what we did. Another building with a chase in it. Here you can see one going in. Very simple. These are all meeting the U.S. Forest Service standards, by the way. That black pipe is the vent, and it's natural airflow. They really are quite clean and non-smelling inside because of the way that the air flows in, flows out, and flows up. Another type of finish with a metal roof. Again and again and again. So you can do an awful lot with these things and make them in a wide variety of styles. Here's the interior. Most of the restrooms are going to stainless like you see here, basically for vandal resistance, because China has a tendency to get broken up, and even plastic becomes an issue. They try to catch it on fire. We actually had somebody try to unbolt the building one time. So now I don't know where the people's minds are, but we turned around, and now when we bolt it together, we tack weld the nut so the car can't take it apart. Unbelievable. Your concession stand. This is a school. Believe it or not, portable school buildings, and that you're looking at that structure, that's considered a portable school building. It has the same rating in Chicago as a what do you call it? A regular trailer, okay? And what that does is that means that they don't have to go and get a bond or go to the public to get the money to do it. So there it is. You can do two-story, this little clubhouse, sitting there looking at the game. You can do tall buildings, real tall buildings. This happens to be down in Texas after they had that Katrina business. They wanted to make sure that everything, if they had another big storm, would be above the possible water line. We provide all the drawings, and here's what comes out of it. I can see a two-story, pretty good-sized building. We can put pumps inside, either at the plant, if they're not too large, or in the field. Here we're dropping a building over an existing generator, and this is used a lot of times for wellheads where they don't want to take the whole thing apart and they want to just put the building over it. We can do that. No floor. End of presentation. Thank you for your interest. Okay. Okay, now I need to get out of this thing. If any of you have questions about any of the things I've told you, just see me after this presentation. I'll be happy to try to help you.
You want this F1 now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cinderwall?
That'll work.
Okay.
I need to make this thing move.
I think it's moving by itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, Slender Wall is another product. It's an architectural precast wall panel that is a curtain wall, and it has a steel stud frame at part of it. We have been selling this for over 15 years now. These are some of the people that have talked about the buildings and how they like them. And that doesn't work. There we go. That's a Marriott executive stay in Manhattan. Pretty good size structure. We've also just completed the tallest building in Virginia. The panels themselves are about I'll say a third the weight of normal precast architectural wall panels. They weigh 28 pounds a square foot. And you can see pretty good sized structures have been developed with this product line. It also mounts on the outside of the floor, so you're picking up what would normally be the 6 inches or so of a knee wall that would go inside the mount drywall, because I mount my drywall right to the back of the steel stud frame. This is Hip Rutgers University in New Jersey. That was a reclad from the outside, so we took an old building and actually mounted the panels on the outside of the structure and never took anything off of it. We had to use a small curtain to allow the students still to operate within the structure. It's about 3 feet of it. Another thing, I wish I could get this thing to move quicker.
You can't make it move quicker.
No,
you can't. It's time.
I can't do it, huh?
Just talk.
Okay. Well, here you can see you got another. We do an architectural brick, and you can see we can do radiuses. You can see the front of that structure has a radius. So we can bend the frame and make a radius with it. The concrete itself is usually about 6,000 psi, so it's good, strong concrete. It has a water repellent additive in it as well, and the steel stud frame that's attached to it is done with stainless steel Nelson welded anchors. So it's a very strong system. It's not depending on threads of a screw or anything like that. The panels have been fully tested. This is a medical facility outside of Cleveland, Ohio. It won an award. The price point on the product is very competitive with traditional architectural precast. And then you're getting the advantage of a much smaller crane, less movement of the crane, additional exterior floor space if it's not a zero lot line building. You're getting a product that you can put foam insulation in at the plant. We can also install the windows at the plant. So in some cases, especially in high labor markets where some guy's getting $75 an hour to do that kind of work, when we do it in the plant, it saves a lot of money and time. This happens to be Gilbane and Turner, 2 buildings. The building in the background there was a reclad, and the building in the foreground was brand new. Okay, now, get out of this thing. Thank you.
Sure.
Just.
Yep. Which one next?
All right, now we're all done here. Okay, I'll just need to talk about the beach prisms, I guess.
Yeah, which one's that?
Okay.
Is it in one of those folders?
Hmm?
One of those folders?
No, I
No,
don't have
okay,
it.
okay.
We're done with this part of it, but I'll talk to you about the beach prisms and all. Thank you. Okay. As far as the slide presentation goes, those are the product lines that I have a visual presentation for. In the display office. Pardon me?
Can't hear you, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. In the room where everybody has their displays up, you'll see samples of 2 other products. One of them is a beach prism. We have sold the beach prism as an erosion control product in Canada. It's going to be installed on the St. Lawrence River down around Quebec. The product has been installed in the Chesapeake Bay area for over 10 years, and we have the studies on that. And you'll see some of that if you want to wander back and look at the displays. The product is made not to renourish a beach that's already eroded. It's made to keep what's there and not allow it to go away. The way the product works is that the triangulated openings in that prism allow the water with the sand to flow through, and then the sand is dropped and the water comes back. So you keep keeping it there, but it's not going to replenish a beach that's already severely eroded, but it'll stop, or let me put it this way, it won't stop. It'll limit future erosion of that area. Some of the issues, of course, are environmental, trying to get the products installed because you have a myriad of different people who are involved in those decisions, and so it's something that if any of you are considering, the first issue is, if you like it, can it be installed in your province, and who's involved in approving it? It does work, and we have a long history and testing that shows that it does do the job we say. They're about 4 feet high. They could be 6. We don't have a 6-foot form yet, but 4 feet high and 10 feet long are the unit sizes. So they're relatively light for a concrete element and can be placed either from the ocean side or from the beach side, depending on what kind of access you have. The other product is Soft Sound, which is an absorptive sound wall. You may be familiar with the product called Durasol, which is an absorptive wood product. Our Soft Sound is very similar to that product. It's been tested under the same standards, and it has a noise reduction coefficient of 0.7, which meets the standards. The use of the product in Canada has not happened yet, but will, we feel, shortly in the Toronto area of Canada. And we're anxious to promote it. We feel our price point on the product is good. You'll see I have a sample of the actual product in the other room. We can make all kinds of patterns with it, and it does do an effective job in limiting sound transmission, especially when you get differential heights of a roadway, where if you go to put a reflective wall up and your elevation on this side of the road is this high and the elevation on the other side is this high, this guy on the opposite side is going to have more noise than he had before you put the wall up. So, because it just gets bounced right on over. So that's where this absorptive sound wall becomes an issue, and why people want it, because if they're going to put a wall up, they want to make sure that the wall is going to be effective in limiting noise in their community. The price point on all of these products is very competitive with anything else you're considering, and we welcome you to ask for quotes on either specific jobs or specific products. Ryland would be more than happy to work with you on whatever issues you want to discuss with regard to that aspect of it, and our own plant is willing to put forth drawings and other things that may be of assistance in giving you a better scope of what we would present to you. That is my product line. Thanks very much for your attendance, and again, if you have any questions, you can visit me over at the booth or see me walking around. Just say, hey, what about this? And I'll try to answer it for you, okay? Thank you.
All right, thanks for your attendance, folks. The next session will start here at 9 a.m. Sharply. It's the stormwater management and treatment session, a 1-hour session with Contact Construction Products. So please return here a few minutes before 9.